I'm carrying that night.
Yeah. What, for me? What do you guys just got to go down?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who I got to put down.
Like,
but I guarantee you, if I get it approved legally, I'll do the paperwork. I'm going to eat your body.
It's all down to mobilization.
I'm going to eat your body.
I'm not really that good to eat because I'm way beyond 80-20.
You just said you were marbleized as
I know, but 80-20 is like the good. That's what you kind of want, 80% meat, 20% fat. I think I'm more like...
No, man.
I'm like government. I'm more like government beef right now.
Have you ever seen A1 Wagyu? Have you ever seen A1 Wagyu? It's nowhere near 80-20.
What? You think it's got more fat? I think it's like pretty thin.
So much more fat.
Yeah, but the way it's dispersed through the meat is way different.
Let's take a look.
This would be a good place to insert a picture of Wagyu beef.
We're not recording anymore.
Yeah, we are.
No, we're not.
We're recording everything.
Shut up.
We even have recordings of him in the bathroom when he was peeing. So if you'd like to and subscribe to Dennis's OnlyFans, you can do that to see that extra footage.
I mean, if I get enough requests,
I've eaten my own flesh. I have eaten my own skin. I'm a cuticle eater, dude. I've literally gone to town on my fucking cuticles, dude.
That's apparent.
I've torn it off.
Your nails are atrocious.
Absolutely. You know why?
Because you eat them.
No, because I got this finger caught in a table saw when I was 20 years old.
And that's why that one is.
All the nerves are tied up in this finger here.
Yeah.
And so the rest of my hand the nerves are just whacked out. Okay.
So explain
it made me start chewing like nervously because the way the nerves play on there, and it just took off. Once I started, it just couldn't stop. And we're gonna have to go away from this scenario in order to do it because we have to go into the the editing room or whatever, because that's where the connection's gonna be the best for it. So you'll see a change of seating, but this is all in real. We did this all real time, sitting here, and we're having this conversation with them. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, please endeavor to join us and like and subscribe.
Also,
always like and subscribe.
We're gonna trade recipes. Huh?
I'm just gonna ask him if it tastes like chicken.
I already know the answer to that.
He's gonna be like a fanboy. I know as soon as we get in there, you're gonna totally be like a fanboy. You're gonna be like,
I'm not. I'm gonna tell him you're a bad person. And
are you?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
No.
There's so much you want to know.
No, I mean, absolutely. There is a lot that I want to know. I mean, man, dude, like, I think about survival scenarios all the time.
I do too. There was a big time of me where I thought about that.
Yeah.
Survival scenarios a lot.
Yeah. And if I gotta do something that's like, if I have to, like, because there is no situation where you're in a dire survival situation, right? Where you have to eat another human being that is not another human being that you know personally.
It's usually going to be somebody you know.
I want to, if
Probably.
I have to do
if that's
this,
going to happen.
I want to do the best that I can to, like,
preserve their memory.
No, be as, like, honor them as much as possible, right? I mean, think about it, seriously. Like, seriously think about it. You're in that situation. Like, you're in a dire situation. Your best friend has just died. Right?
But you're starving.
Succumbing to the elements.
Freaking hungry.
I'm going to die. And his wife, who's got his child, is going to die. Like, unless we sustain, right? Unless we survive and make it through this situation. And I don't at all want to eat this person because
but would you? So okay, here's a good question. So the child, how old is the child? Is the child like
with child?
With child. Okay. But if it's a child that's already there, are you gonna feed the dad to the kid, and the kid has no idea that they're eating human meat?
Absolutely. Absolutely, dude. Because if it was me, I would want that to happen.
What is that? I heard that quote. Morals have little or no bearing on an empty stomach.
It's so literal. Yeah. It's so literal, but it's true.
It is.
But even then, like, going into this, like, if my unborn or born child is going to die if they don't eat my flesh, I want them to eat my flesh.
But there is a point.
I want to sustain them because I live my life sustaining them, right? I live my entire life
the least they could do
doing everything to sustain them. This is the last that I have to give. The least you can do
is your eat me.
Yeah, eat me, bitch.
Or them.
What do you mean?
I mean, so
Eat them?
Yeah, like if there's all right. So how do you weigh that?
There's no way. There's no way that they would die before me. There's no way that they would die before me. I would do absolutely everything in my power. I would sacrifice everything in order to make sure that they survive, and I would be the first one to die.
I think I told my ex-wife one time that I would, when COVID hit and I was unsure of what the hell was going to happen, you know, there was a potential, you know, I was thinking, folks, there was a potential that shit could have gone super bad, like really bad, really quick.
Yeah.
We didn't know. You didn't know. Did you know? It could have gotten fucking really bad.
It could have. There was a predictive programming documentary on
I'm sure.
viruses.
I'm sure. And it could have. I mean,
really
even,
scared me.
but even just like the people panicking part of it, you know what I mean? Like, but to me, it kind of proved
like the toilet paper thing.
Yeah, like people are just
fucking stupid.
So dull, dude.
It's so dumb.
We're so dull as far as any great tragedy that happens.
We have no idea what's going on.
We're just so. I think the apocalypse can happen, and we would literally sit there going, "What happened?"
Yeah.
What? I don't know.
Oh man, it's just getting bad out there.
Yeah, shit, man. Fuck.
When do we start doing something?
I wonder when they're gonna reopen Starbucks. Fuck.
Yeah.
You know, people are just gonna die sitting in their houses, waiting for fucking Amazon to deliver that fucking package.
Yeah. Jeff Bezos.
Because they're not even gonna know. They're not even gonna know what the fuck to do. It's gonna be so crazy. But I said to her, I was like, if shit gets bad and someone was breaking into our house to take everything we had, because you know that's the scenario. There are gonna be people out there that are gonna be like nurturers and growers and builders, but there's a good portion of the people are just gonna be scavengers and ravagers.
Yeah.
And if someone was coming in here and they were gonna do, I knew our numbers were out, we were outnumbered and there was no hope.
Yeah.
That I would kill my fucking family before I would let anything happen to them by the hands of somebody else.
So, who was your favorite pen pal? Between, all of the other like kind?
In total, I've corresponded with about 30 serial killers around the world, but my favorite pen pal of them all was Richie Ramirez, the Night Stalker. I used to correspond with him between 97 and 2007, more or less, about 10 years.
Yeah.
And it was extremely interesting. The letters, they were usually really short, but the contents were more interesting than what he would usually send to his other pen pals, because he knew about my case. He knew he had a lot of questions about vampires and other people we knew we had in common. We also used to share anecdotes on groupies and people who used to write us. He was really curious about European satanic cults, so he asked me a lot of questions regarding that. He would also tell me prison anecdotes, stuff that you would see in the courtyard. Okay. There was I remember a letter where he said that there was a movie with Clint Eastwood which was being actually shot in San Quentin when he was there. So everybody was inside their cells when they shot the scenes. He had a lot of interesting things to tell. Yeah.
Did he share much about before his imprisonment, his encryption?
No.
No.
That's one thing with
incarceration.
That's one thing with Richard, with all his pen pals, even his most the closest one. He would never talk about his case because, he was still appealing his death sentence. So there was no way. There was no way he would.
You can't talk about that, right? Because those things are monitored. Those communications are monitored between the two of you.
It depends. For example, with the other inmates, like Arthur Shawcross, he was a strangler in New York. In New York, he would tell me how he would strangle his victims with his thumbs. He would place his thumbs in a certain position on the neck. So those kind of things that were not. I don't know how they got through the censorship, but I actually got the letters where he describes that. So there's a few killers I used to write with who were actually very graphic in their letters. They would describe what they would do and what they liked, etc. So some of the stuff was quite intense. Yeah.
So that begs a question. That begs a question about the one person that you were convicted of killing.
No, you didn't kill him.
The first person?
Yeah, you never got to do it. Or no, you killed him, but you didn't
killed
get to.
him.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that begs the question of the first person that you actually took the life of. How did you do it? How did you feel while you were doing it? And how do you process the fact that you didn't get to eat them, which I imagine was the goal? Was that not the goal?
Yeah, he said that.
Okay.
At the time, I was dating a girl. She was 18 and I was 21, and she would use a thing we call Minitel. It was some kind of primitive network. It was way before the internet, and there was access to a chat room. It was a terminal, very one of those very first terminals that would actually have a connection through a landline, and you would put small ads in, and you would contact people. So she was doing this for sex work. She would she was an S&M dominatrix, and she actually contacted clients, potential clients. And I was watching her do that. There was no sex involved. She was only doing the dominatrix part. And sometimes I would wait for her outside the building to make sure everything went okay. So she was doing this for about 6 months before I actually murdered that person. And it gave me the idea to approach someone anonymously, because she was doing this anonymously. There was no way they could trace her back. There was only this connection via this terminal. And she would call people from a public phone booth. So they didn't have her actual number. It was way before you had mobile phones and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we did it together. She would usually say that she was older than she was, because at 18 it was barely legal, let's say. And I said, okay, how do those people will these people actually continue this if you say you're 16? And I tried it myself, and I pretended that I was 16, and I was 21 at the time. And immediately I got people contacting me. Yeah, why don't you come over to my place? People were like 35, 40. I was like, oh, all those fucking creeps. I'm gonna show them, what it's like to actually contact a minor. And
it was almost too easy, right?
More or less, yeah, exactly. And for me, it was more or less a moral reason to shoot them in the head. I had this moral justification. Okay, I'm pretending to be a minor. The idea developed that I had this moral justification of doing it, and this is why I did it. This guy who actually contacted me, I pretended that I was 16, and he said, okay, I live there. It was a street in Paris. Come, you can knock on my door, blah, blah, blah. So I went there with my gun. He opened the door, and I immediately shoot him while he was closing the door. But since it was inside an apartment complex, the sound, the bang of the gun kind of resonated through the building. So all in all, it lasted not more than 10 minutes. The person died. And this is when I realized that probably somebody might have heard something in the building. Then I heard footsteps outside the door, the main entrance, and like people were running downstairs. So I thought that they were calling the cops. So this is why I decided to leave the premises as soon as I could, and I didn't have time to actually do what I had come to, what I had in mind, which was the cutting up the person.
But you felt at the time there was a moral justification for what you were doing because.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, since they thought that I was 16, they thought that I was a minor. So
can I
in my mind, I felt justified.
Some of the vibe I'm getting off of you, like being because we're so close in age. I remember during that time period, the Gothic culture was huge. You know, you had all these bands that were European bands that were kind of promoting this dark, you know, like the you know, like, you know what I mean, the Gothic. It was much more prevalent in Europe. So I do know the fascination with that culture. So from what I'm hearing from you, I'm actually hearing you would be more considered be more of a vampire than you would be considered a cannibal in some aspects.
Yeah,
so
it was because of the blood. They found blood bags at my place when they searched my place, blood bags. Because at the hospital, well, I worked in the morgue, but I also worked in a surgery unit in the afternoon. There was 2 shifts. So in the morning I was working in the morgue, and in the afternoon I was working in surgery. And one of my tasks as an attendant in the surgery unit was to actually get the blood bags from the blood bank to bring it for during the surgery, operations, and bring them back if they were not used. So I did this system where I would actually steal those blood bags, bring them home, and actually drink from them.
So the taste so you consumed your own blood first, right? That's what you said?
The taste was different with the blood bags because there was no plasma.
Yeah, no plasma. They separate all the plasma.
Yeah. It should be.
Yeah, they separate the plasma.
It should be. Like, if you think about...
Yeah, the taste was totally different, but still, I love that taste too. Yeah. And I got kind of used to it, so I always had 1 or 2 blood bags in my fridge at a given time when I was working there. Yeah.
So that blood, I'm going to call it a lust just for a moment, you know, because it is kind of it's an obsession. You said you described it as a little bit of an obsession to have that, right? So that taste of the living blood, like how you tasted on yourself, is that what drove you or inspired you as opposed to like want to taste fresher flesh?
Yeah, because I was doing it with my girlfriends at the time, also drink their blood from time to time. But as I said, the taste was different with the blood that I stole from the blood bank. It was totally different. Yeah. But this is why they use the word vampire. It was not so much about because I was obsessed with vampires or anything. I didn't care too much about vampires. And they you know, the press and the tabloids, they like to use simple words for criminal cases, especially when it's more or less spectacular and unusual. Yeah. So they use that word a lot. So I don't mind about the word vampire. It's just that I don't care about vampires. Yeah.
But there's nothing simplistic about it, right? Like you think about when you sweat, right? You get your body odor, and you smell that. And you're like, yeah, I stink, but like, I like that stink, right?
For yourself.
Yeah, I do. And then that girl, that woman that you were with at that time, that you were consuming blood with, like, that woman was somebody that you loved, right? And then it's the same thing, dude. Like somebody that you love very much, you fucking bury your fucking nose in their armpit, and you smell that, and they smell that body odor, and it's.
And I can imagine it would even be more intense once you smelled their blood.
Exactly.
Because
it's a much more intense thing.
Yeah.
And then tasting or smelling something from somebody else is a more primal.
So if you weren't into the say like the description of say the vampire thing, and
very interesting.
Was it like a sexual? Was it just a fetish in the beginning?
Yeah, a fetish.
Like so, it was more combined with that.
Let's open the question. Let's open up the question more to allow you to like express yourself as much as possible. When you first took a life, how did you feel? Like what was going through you through every part of that, every process of that whole thing? Like what was going through your mind, and what was going through your heart, and what was going through your soul, and what was going through your body, right? Like everything. What was that whole experience?
It was a rush, a rush of adrenaline at first, and a feeling that I had cut the umbilical cord that was, uniting me to the rest of humanity in a way, because you can't go back from that.
That's deep.
You can't. Yeah, I mean, once you've done that, you can't go back.
You can't
say, okay.
No.
You can't say, okay, from now on, I'm gonna be a humanitarian. I'm gonna be a fucking Mother Teresa. And I'm gonna, no, you can't come back from that. So either you accept who you are and what you've done, or you live in denial the rest of your life. So I'm not gonna, be born again or whatever. I will accept. I have accepted my nature at that time, and I fully accepted who I was, and I just found a way to navigate. We used the word navigate a little bit earlier, and I think it's a very accurate word to describe what I had been going through. Navigate hostile waters and stay on top of the waves and not sinking, because things could have gone much worse.
Yes.
Much worse.
How much?
And everybody who knows me a little knows that, and the cops knew it, the judges knew it, all the shrinks I've seen for so many years in prison, and after that they knew it. So the funny thing is, they all thought that they had an answer to the question, what do we do with this guy? So do we keep him locked up? But the problem for them is that there were laws that they had to apply, and one of those laws said that when you are found unfit for a trial, when you are found fit for trial, but with what they call diminished responsibility, which was the case with my trial, they can't keep you for life. They have to find some kind of middle way. That's what they found with me. And after the end of the sentence, they have to release you. So there's no other choice for them. Otherwise, they will it wouldn't be a democratic country or whatever. But with a personality like mine, it's kind of difficult. So they knew that I was not very receptive to any kind of program that they had, reinsertion or rehabilitation programs. So I found my own way to be rehabilitated, and that was through art and writing. And this is what I've been doing for 20 years now. So I've been navigating my own way out of this.
So embracing your own creative nature, do you found that it pacifies that urge to, to have that same feeling, like...
Exactly. It gives me a role, kind of, in that society, even if I don't feel part of it. But I have this position where I can tell people, and people, especially people who share more or less those dark thoughts, and at an age where they don't know what to do with them, and I can tell them, okay, violence might not be the answer for that, because violence, at the end of the day, you lose. You lose because they win. They will always win. They will always find you out. They will always arrest you, and you will always spend the rest of your natural life behind bars.
Yeah.
So
Whether you're in jail or not.
So
yeah. So if you indulge in those things, and if you give, indulge in your dark desires or whatever you call them, you give them the opportunity to lose. There's another way around, and there's a philosopher, a French philosopher that few people know about. They don't even know the word, his name, because his name was used to describe a certain penchant. This philosopher's name was Marquis de Sade. He was a French philosopher from the 17th century.
Do you know who Marquis de Sade is?
yes.
Well, he wrote the book. He wrote a book about his experiences too, as
He
well.
wrote several books. Yes, he wrote several books. And he was also very aware of his own nature. He knew exactly where he was standing. He knew that he was a misanthropist, that he didn't like people, but he also knew that his way of expressing that was through writing. So he wrote plenty of different books. Psychiatrists later used his name to describe a condition, and it's called sadism.
Yeah, sadism.
Sadism.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, which is to derive pleasure from the suffering of others. Sade was more than a writer. He was a philosopher. He knew exactly his place in society, and the fact that his penchants were strictly made him against the world around him, put him in a position where he was considered as an enemy.
Yeah.
And he spent some of his life behind bars. Actually, he was in prison for several years. This is actually in prison that he wrote his most interesting books. But through his example, I think it's interesting for people like me who share the same kind of psychological traits. It's interesting to know that you can actually live in society, but at the same time be true to yourself, and that's the meaning of what
That's
I've been doing.
That's like.
That's a fun thing.
For me,
to talk
it's
about.
mind blowing.
It
Just
is
because,
a fun thing to talk about.
History has painted a completely different picture from your description. To even hear Marquis de Sade as being described, for me, dude, to have it be described as a philosopher is a new concept for me. But I can understand it. I grew up at the same time you did, and I understand about, I'm like...
you were definitely exposed to different things.
Well, the underground was different then, and even the way you were describing, like, how you connected with people.
Yeah.
Dude, it was not you had to work. You had to work to do that.
Oh yeah.
There was that was effort. It was like way more effort than you had to put in now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like so much effort to do that shit.
To do what shit?
Do you do that out of inclination, or are you? It's just because of the torches and pitchforks that you kind of like keep to yourself.
Oh, inclination. No, I don't mind. The social stuff, I do it when I'm on tour with the Serial Killer Expo. This is when I go social, and when I meet people, and
do you suffer
I
from
sit at the table.
social anxieties?
No, not really. I don't really mind. I don't
think anybody who's spent time in prison really.
I don't like big crowds. That's for sure. Big crowds I try to stay away from. Sorry. Um, but other than that, I keep to myself. If the only time I'm social is when I go to the gym. There's other people. Most of them, probably the majority of them, know who I am, so it's all right. Yeah. People, for example, they talk to me a lot about the black metal craze in the 90s and all the church burnings that more or less happened after
What was that band? What was that
I was
band?
arrested.
What was the band that did that? The church burnings.
Mayhem,
Mayhem. Yeah, that's it.
Gozer, all
Yeah.
those bands. Yeah.
I know the
So
same
they were
guys that
doing
were
this.
murdering band members, right? To
Yeah, exactly. There was a movie called Lords of Chaos.
Lords of Chaos. Yeah, that movie was great.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fantastic movie, actually.
Yeah.
That was a really good movie.
But all those things, they did it more or less for clout back in those days. And I came before that. What I was doing was before that. And when I was in prison, I was actually writing to one of those guys. He's called fuck. What's his name already? He's the guy from Emperor who was arrested for murdering a guy
what is
in a
that
park.
guy's name? I remember that.
What?
Bord Faust, that's his name. Bord Faust. And we used to correspond, and he was so not into those things anymore, but he was more into serial killer stuff, and he wanted to, know more about those kind of things. So, this scene, that black metal scene, I saw it evolve, and I saw it become so mainstream over the years, and it was just very telling of what would happen next, because that's another thing that happened with true crime culture, for example. When I was a teenager and I was a young man, when you were into true crime, you definitely were not considered as a normal person.
No.
You were a freak. You were like, what the fuck?
True crime.
People would look at you really weird. Now we are in 2024, and true crime has become the major form of entertainment around the world.
Yeah.
The most successful TV shows are true crime shows.
Yeah.
TV producers, they contact you all the time to get new ideas, new content, and it has become mainstream if you look at it. And that's funny to see the evolution of true crime. Back in those days, I knew only a handful of people who would write to John Wayne Gacy or people like that, or Ted Bundy. And
Or
would
what's his name? Henry Lee Lucas.
Yeah, exactly. It was a circle of people who would write to those people. They all more or less knew each other. They were collecting those letters, etc. And nowadays, TV shows, producers, they contact those people who were actually writing those serial killers to have content, so that they can share letters, that they can share what the interactions that. Yeah, exactly. So it shows you.
So how do you feel about that?
In a way, it's good for me because, I sell true crime books, so people buy the books, so there's more people buying the books, in a way. But at the same time, what I don't really like is 20 years old, having extremely popular YouTube channels where they talk about a case. They have absolutely done zero research on the case, but they just put makeup on, and it's extremely popular because it's all about not the content itself, which has been told so many years, so many times before. It's just about, how to present it. And, I know YouTubers who have done millions of views covering true crime cases, and after a while, they have to remove this true crime content from their channel because YouTube censors that. They don't want. They have a special formula for true crime, and if you make it too glamorous, YouTube doesn't like that. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, there will, and there always has been, and there will always be censorship regarding true crime. There's only a certain way that's socially acceptable to present true crime. And this is what we're seeing right now with the censorship on YouTube and even on Netflix. Netflix will never talk about certain cases because it's a bit too much for the general audience.
So do you like the attention that you get from your what you've done? Like, do you like the attention from it, like in writing the books and?
It's not so much a matter of liking, it's a matter of survival. If I don't do that, I can't do anything else because of who I am. I cannot have a normal
I
job.
understand that. I actually understand that.
You
And
know,
I sympathize with that a little
you know,
bit.
I cannot have a normal
You
life.
have.
My
I can
only
understand.
way of
That's gonna be scary.
my
That's-
only
The more I sit and listen to you, the more the more I recognize the
humanity.
sophistication, really. Like
Sophisticated barbarians.
in the things that you say. Like,
there's
you're very
there's
thoughtful. You're very thoughtful in the things that you say.
Thank you. There's a metaphor I'm gonna use. You know, there's a character that I've always been fascinated with. It's the Elephant Man, John Merrick, or Joseph Merrick, rather. So it was this guy who was all those.
The elephant. You talking about the Elephant Man?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Elephant Man. Yeah. You know, people paid to see the Elephant Man. They paid good money. Without this, the Elephant Man would never have survived. Would
Never.
have been
It's true.
thrown
Even the
in a
doctor
ditch.
that
So-
was trying to cure
Yeah,
him
exactly.
exploited the shit out of him.
because
He
he
paraded
knew
him in
he
front
had
of
no
royalty.
life outside of the freak show.
No.
And it's the same for me. I have no life outside of this.
Dude.
I am stuck in this thing where people come to see the freak, they come to interview the freak, they come to get a selfie with the freak. I'm the freak, and I totally accept that because there's no other way around this for me to survive
Exactly.
other than crime. So, yeah.
Do you know the
It's either that
Residents?
or go back to crime.
Do you know who the Residents are?
No.
They're a band. It's an
Ah,
American
is it
San
a band?
Francisco band. They're
Yeah.
kind of avant-garde. They're the guys that had those
Yeah,
big
yeah.
eyeballs on their head. You know.
Yeah.
They did
Oh, I
a
see, yeah.
whole album called Freak Show, and that's what you just said. Just encapsulized
Well,
that.
yeah, exactly.
Everyone goes to the freak show,
Yeah.
but nobody's laughing when they leave.
Exactly.
And that's
exactly,
the
exactly.
point. That's the point. Is that everything that you're saying is very fucking poignant. Everything that you're saying is well thought out. It's I mean grounded, right? In fact, everything that you're saying, and it's so hard to fault you. You know what I mean? It's really difficult. Because sitting and talking to you as a person, you're a fucking person. You're a human being. You belong here in this world, and I love you. I do. I love you. I love everybody.
Thank you.
I love everybody. I love you. You're a part of humanity. You're a part of who we are, and I love that. You know. You've done some.
Thank you.
You've done some fucking
that's nice.
terrible things. You know what I mean? Like, and that's fine. You paid the price for that. You've done that.
Oh yeah.
But like, I love sitting down.
Thank you.
And having an opportunity to talk to you as just a person, because this is what honestly, like, I wanted to dig in and hear about like what you've done.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for that.
In your
though,
case,
right now.
no, but I did. I wanted to dig into thinking about what you've done and then like all the interviews and blah blah blah. But Matt was like, "No, I want to go into this cold," and I was like, "All right, cool.
It's better that way because then
I'll do it that way."
you don't have any like.
It's better this way.
You're
It's
not.
better this
You're
way.
not like coming under any like.
It's better this way because we're just.
You know what I mean?
We're just talking to a person.
You're just another guy.
We're
you
just
know?
talking to another dude, you know? And it's like, I have so many other questions. I really do. We don't have time for them, but I have so many other questions.
So you'd be up to though coming and visiting with us, maybe like coming.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Bring him to Disney World. That'd be a little sick.
Have a little
how much-
interview on the fucking roller coaster?
I guess the question is,
Like, you know what I mean?
how sick are you willing to get? I mean, like, you know, I guess that's in our frame of mind.
I mean,
guess.
yeah. Dude, we'll wrestle
Like,
alligator.
how much of a sense of humor do you have?
Have
How
you
dark is
ever
your
wrestled an
humor?
alligator?
Oh, what the fuck? Wrestling alligator?
I have. We'll do
You
it
know,
together.
like, do you have like you? Obviously, you have to have a
we'll
good
do it
sense of
together.
humor.
You do.
Yeah.
You have to like when you do you laugh at yourself?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, no, if I make fun of you, you're not going to murder me and eat me, right?
No.
Dude.
I'm
I'm
so
just playing.
No, but like listen, I can understand in understanding the culture at the time, like when you were experiencing a lot of that stuff, I can't imagine what it was like growing up in Europe because I have just the American express. Like,
It's a different.
and I can imagine there's a lot more pressure. There could have been a lot more pressure and a lot more because that was prevalent around me during that time period. It was like there was a lot of dark shit going on, dude. And there was like I spent some time in New Orleans during those years, and their vampirism was rampant in New Orleans. It was like it was horribly rampant. It was like literally bars would close if anybody that was associated with that would come down the street, and they just closed the bars because people very seriously took that. But there was also at that same time there was like they were kind of like during that same period of time. People were glorifying serial killers. You know, you had in America anyways, you had the natural born killers kind of mentality going on there where it was, and even like the first trading cards, I think, for serial killers came out during that same period of time. So, you know, and I grew up during the years where you kind of like, it was weird because you kind of like grew up fearing Manson, but you kind of idolized him in the same way. Because there was something about the message that he was saying that you could kind of resonate, that everyone could resonate, because we all knew that the society and the system wasn't working and it was kind of like wrong. And he was kind of saying, hey, this is what we kind of got to do to wake up some people.
No, he was definitely like laying down clues and actual facts.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so it's a little, there's such a wavy gray line with all this stuff that we're talking about. Even to find humanity within the inhumane. It's kind of poetic in a way, right? I mean, it's not lost on you, is it? That the poeticism to find the I would love to have more conversations with you. It would be nice. I'm hoping this was a good experience for you, and there's no way we don't want to offend you.
Soon. Yeah.
Yeah, like
unfortunately I have to go soon, but it was nice.
Yeah, it was nice. I would hope so. Like I know just waking up early in the morning and having this conversation with two drunk idiots, like I can imagine has been great. Another couple drunk idiots, but thank you for your time. We really appreciate it, and honestly, thank you for your time.
Red, okay, with fruit to it, very fruity, strong, because it's more or less in the form of taste as a horse.
Is that not the
So you
the way
fight
to go?
to the
'Cause
death,
he
yeah.
knows, yeah.
You fight to the death, and then your family's still alive, and then they freaking tear your family to shreds, literally.
You can
and
just stop
like,
recording. We're gonna keep talking because we're not talking to the camera. We're talking to each other right now.